This is the ultimate tutorial of how you can deploy securely a Web3 protocol. Hello guys, it's Johnny time and welcome to another Web3 security tutorial. Today we will deploy the most forked Web3 protocol, which is Uniswap V2, and we will deploy it securely with Defender by OpenZeppelin. So the Defender tool will help us in every stage of the development life cycle, from the coding part until the monitoring and the actions that we need to take in case someone is trying to hack our protocol, which is also called incident response. It's gonna be super useful and interesting tutorial, so without further ado, let's get started. So as I mentioned before, we're going to deploy Uniswap version 2, which is the most forked Web3 DeFi protocol. It's an AMM, automated market maker, and DEX. And this is our repository, which I will share in the description below. But before we jump into the code of the Uniswap protocol, I want to show you how Defender looks like and how we're going to use Defender, how we're going to leverage its features and models in order to make sure that our protocol, Web3 protocol, is secure. So this is the new Defender 2.0 by OpenZeppelin. As you can see, we have different modules over here, and it's actually organized in an order that makes sense, because when we start working on a Web3 protocol, we first write the code, we write the smart contracts. That's where the code inspector comes into place. The code inspector will integrate with our Github repository, and every pull request that we make and every code that we push when we update the smart contracts, it's automatically the engine of Defender is going to scan our smart contracts and find issues and vulnerabilities, as you can see over here. So they have very advanced engine based on static analysis and AI. I'm not gonna get through every single part of this engine because I have another dedicated video where I show all the features of the code module, how it works, and how it's helping us to find and fix vulnerabilities before we deploy the smart contracts and before we deploy the protocol. We'll see today how the code inspector is going to help us to find those vulnerabilities beforehand, before we are actually deploying the smart contract. Then we go to the audit module. The audit module is the audit phase when you seek help from a third party, from a security professional that will take a look at your smart contract, basically do an audit. It's called an audit or a security review, and then find all the issues, tell you how to fix them so you can prepare for the deployment phase. In the deployment phase, we're actually deploying the smart contracts. It could be first for testnet, as you can see here, the test environment, or to the production environment, to mainnet. You can use the Defender tool to deploy and manage your deployment. Another cool thing about this deploy module is that it automatically integrates with Safe multi-sig wallet, which basically helps you to manage your upgrades. If you have upgradable contracts, if you have proxies, which is the case, mostly the case these days where we have upgradable contracts and proxies, you can manage all your upgrades in one place in the deploy module, integrated with multi-sig wallet, Safe wallet. We'll have another dedicated video of how to use the deploy module in depth, how to manage upgradable contracts, how to approve upgrades, etc. And I will put the link to all these videos in the description below. Once we deploy the protocol and it's live, it's starting to get attention and people are depositing money, the TVL is rising, we want to make sure that our protocol is monitored, right? We want to make sure that we have monitoring rules set. So in case there is a suspicious transaction, in case the protocol or the smart contract funds are at risk, we're able to detect it. This is where the monitor model comes into place, where we can set monitoring rules, and basically the monitor model will basically monitor the blockchain all the time to find those detectors, and once it finds them, it will trigger an alert. But not only trigger an alert, that's where the actions module comes into place. We will see in a moment how we use the action module in the Uniswap V2 protocol, but the action modules allows you, based on monitor events, incidents that were raised, to make an action. So if there is an attack, you can block it, right? You can prepare an action in advance that if something suspicious happens, if the liquidity drops, if the balance drops significantly, then we want to pause the smart contract. Then we want to add more funds to the smart contract, whatever action that you might think of. And last but not least is the incident response. The incident response allows you to define scenarios. For instance, when this smart contract is being attacked, then we're gonna run this group of actions. You can aggregate actions together and run them one after another. And also you can define runbooks. Incident response is something that we are used to in Web2 traditional security. And it's incredible to see that OpenZeppelin is actually leveling up the incident response and the monitoring and the actions in actually Web3 security and Web3 protocols. And these features and these modules are amazing, incredible, and a great help for Web3 protocols to monitor and create those incident response and actions for their protocol when something goes wrong. So now that we understand every section, every module of the Defender tool, how it helps us in the lifecycle of our Web3 protocol, it's time to create a demonstration to show you how we deploy the most forked protocol, Uniswap V2, using this amazing Defender tool. And we're gonna start with the code inspector module. As you remember, the feature that allows us to find vulnerabilities automatically based on static analysis and AI. And this is our repository. Now, I already configured here in the settings that my Github repository is connected to Defender. If you want to learn more how to do it and how to use the code inspector model step by step, check out my other video tutorial. I will put a link in the description below. And now we're gonna see it in action. So in order to trigger these scans, as you can see, these are the previous reports that Defender tool generated for me. In order to trigger a new scan, all we have to do is to create a pull request. So I've made some updates to the repository on my local machine. I've made some changes, so I'm gonna add all these changes to the upcoming commit and push them into the test branch. So I'll do git add dot git commit -m update the code, whatever, some kind of comment, and git push. I'm gonna push the changes to the remote branch on GitHub, the remote test branch, and now the changes are pushed. And as you can see automatically here on GitHub, I get a notification that test had recent pushes less than a minute ago. And I'm gonna create a pull request and merge it into the main branch. And every time we create a pull request, we will trigger automatically the Defender code module. And as you can see here, we created this pull request. And if we go here to Defender and refresh this page in Code Inspector, we are supposed to see a new scan being executed. And we can see over here that a new scan has been initiated and it's in a running status. So now in the backend, the OpenZeppelin Defender tool is scanning all our smart contracts and trying to find issues. Now, spoiler alert, this is the exact same code that we have here. This is a previous test that I made before the video. So probably there are gonna be 24 issues. And once the test is over, we can actually enter and see all the issues. So we'll have to wait a few minutes until the scan is completed. Meanwhile, the test is running. I want to remind you that Defender is currently in beta phase, which means that you can use it completely for free. Later on, it's going to be paid. There are going to be packages and different features will be paid. But for now, you can try out all your features, either if you are a smart contract developer, auditor, or a Web3 protocol owner. You can use the link in the description below to get free access to all these amazing features and start playing with them using all these amazing modules. So definitely check out the link in the description below. The scan was completed. As you can see, it's still running, but we already have 24 issues. So we can actually enter to this particular scan and see all the issues that the Defender code inspector detected in our smart contract. So we can see it's all low issues and informational notes. We don't have any mediums or highs because this is actually the Uniswap V2 repository, Uniswap V2 smart contracts. We can open its code and there are not really critical issues in this code. It's actually very battle tested. It's been a while in the space and a lot of protocols forked it. It's just small issues like floating pragma, missing docstring, required statements with multiple conditions. We don't have a gap variable. But it's also not upgradable smart contract. So it's probably got confused because of the initialize function inside of the Uniswap V2 pair. But you see, we already have some nice inputs which we can improve in our smart contract prior to going to the audit phase. While you write your code and develop the smart contracts, you are fixing the issues and clearing all those findings basically, and you prepare better to the audit phase. It allows you both to fix vulnerabilities and make sure your code is better, more readable, more organized, and that you're ready, that your security review phase, your audit phase, you will take the max out of it. So the security researcher won't have to deal with those low small issues, but actually activate their creativity to find the critical bugs and the issues that might put your protocol at risk. Now that you finished writing your smart contracts and your tests and your protocol is ready, you go to the audit phase. That's where you book an audit in an auditing company. You can also use an auditing competition platform or book a private auditor. The Defender tool allows you to book an audit directly from OpenZeppelin, which is one of the best teams in Web3 security, or in the future, there will be also other auditing options available. And now that we know that our code is secure, it's time to deploy it. First, we're usually going to deploy it to test environment, to test nets. And as you can see here, my test environment is already configured with relayers for Goerli and Sepolia blockchain, which are the Ethereum test networks. And again, if you want to learn how to configure the deploy module and how to set it up, check out my complete tutorial of this deploy module. I will put a link in the description below. This is passed through the setup configuration of the relayer, of the API keys, and all the necessary configurations, because it's very big tool with a lot of features. Obviously, we cannot cover all of them in one video. That's why we have different videos, but this one shows you a rundown through the all features, through the all modules, and how to use them to deploy securely a Web3 protocol. Now we are going to deploy our Uniswap protocol to the Sepolia testnet blockchain of Ethereum. So as you can see, this is our repository. We're going to deploy the factory contract, which is the contract that allows user to create new pairs of liquidity of 2 tokens in Uniswap. And this is the contract that we are going to deploy. We're also going to deploy Johnny Time token, which is just a mock basic simple ERC20 token that is going to mint some tokens to the initial owner, and this isn't the initial supply and the initial owner. So we pass the owner, we pass the supply, and it's gonna mint it for us. There is also mint only owner protected function. So this token will be used later to create a pair. We're gonna deploy these 2 smart contracts, the Uniswap V2 factory and this Johnny Time token. So we have here the deploy script, and as you can see, we're using different libraries, also Audit. We also use OpenZeppelin Defender SDK, which is basically the SDK of Defender that allows us to deploy smart contract, either if it's not upgradable or upgradable smart contracts through the Defender tool. The cool thing about a deploy module is that you don't need to spend ETH or any coins to deploy your smart contracts, because OpenZeppelin is creating a relayer for you. So it's basically an EOA account that is generated for you. It's funded with ETH, and this ETH is being used to deploy your smart contract. You can also define an approval process. So in case you have upgradable smart contracts, you define an approval process that eventually allows you to be the admin that actually approve the upgrades of your proxy smart contracts through multi-sig wallets, through Gnosis Safe. But again, this is something that we deep dive into in the deploy module complete tutorial, so check the video in the description below. Here you can see that we deploy first the factory smart contract, and then we deploy the token smart contract, and we are going to mint $1 million of token, Johnny Time token, 1 million tokens, as you can see over here. So npx audit run script deploy will basically initiate a deploy script that will hopefully deploy the factory contract and the token smart contract. Now we already configured our repository and our environment. You have to configure your .env file with your private key and OpenZeppelin private key and secret. Obviously, this is blurred now, but this is something that we did already in the previous tutorial, but I will also leave a link to this exact repository. So if you want to play with Defender and deploy your own Uniswap V2 fork, your own Uniswap V2 version, you can just clone this exact repository that I'm using and deploy your own Web3 security protocol using Defender. As you can see, the factory contract was deployed. Unfortunately, the token contract wasn't deployed because we don't have enough ETH in our Relayer account. Because I did try many deployments already with this Sepolia Relayer, so I just sent a bit more ETH and I'm gonna try to deploy the token again. I'm just going to comment out here the factory smart contract deployment and just run the script again. Hopefully this time we'll have enough ETH to deploy our amazing token. Yeah, and as you can see this time when I loaded the Relayer with some ETH, the deployment worked and we also have the token contract deployed. And now if we go here to the deploy model, we see that we have two smart contracts deployed over here. And they're currently in submitted phase, submitted status, not on completed, because what happens is the Defender behind the scene is gonna verify the deployment. It's gonna compare the bytecode, the local bytecode that we have locally in our environment with the bytecode deployed on the blockchain. It's also gonna verify our smart contract with Etherscan. So you don't need to deal with contract verification. Defender does it for you automatically once you set up your API keys to Etherscan and configure it inside Defender. Beautiful. We can actually click here this button and it will open Etherscan Sepolia for us. And we can see that the contract was deployed and already verified on Etherscan. So we can see here the contract name, the code, Uniswap V2 factory. For some reason, it didn't fetch here the name yet, but I guess in few seconds when we refresh the page, we're supposed to see here also the contract names, Uniswap V2 Factory and Johnny Time Token. This is supposed to be the token contract, as you can see, Johnny Time Token. So we deploy both Uniswap V2 Fork Factory and a new deployed token, ERC20 token. All right, now that you deployed your protocol on the blockchain, you want to set up some monitoring rules that will detect suspicious transaction and suspicious activity in your protocol and will trigger some alerts. This is the monitor module inside Defender. As you can see, you can define different type of monitoring. You can monitor your governance, your access control, suspicious activity, financial stuff, technical stuff. Everything that happens in your protocol can be monitored. You can create here a new monitor, and as you can see, OpenZeppelin already created for you some templates for monitoring. For instance, when your smart contracts are being upgraded, you want to make sure that you know about it. So you can use the upgrade monitor. When we have ERC721 NFTs token transfer, when there is some kind of governance check alert or multi-sig monitor. So they created for you already boilerplate templates so you can right away use. Right now, I'm not going to use any of those templates. I'm just going to create from scratch a new monitor here using the create monitor button. And the first basic thing that we want to monitor is that anytime someone creates a new pair using our Uniswap factory. So as you know, Uniswap AMM works by pairs. You have a pair of two tokens and this pair holds liquidity and people can swap from one token to another. So we want to know every once someone creates a new pair in the protocol. So I'm going to create a new monitor. I call it new pair alert or new pair created, just some kind of monitoring. There is actually no risk here. I'm just gonna mark it as financial because someone created a new pair. And now the cool thing is, because everything goes through Defender, you don't need to import your smart contracts manually because they're gonna be saved automatically in the address book, because Defender is already aware of your Johnny Time token contract and the Uniswap V2 factory contract, so they're gonna be fetched automatically in the monitor module. So if I go to the monitor module again, once the contracts are verified and the name was fetched and I create monitor, here in the select box in the contracts, I can already find my two newly deployed contracts. I don't need to manually add them. I have them marked by names. You can see here Johnny Time token on Sepolia. So I'm gonna mark actually the Uniswap V2 factory contract because this is the one that we want to monitor when a new pair is being created. I'm gonna change it again to financial and I'm gonna here change it to new pair created. Here you can basically select how many blocks you want this monitor to trigger. So if it's after one block, if you want it after a few blocks, when do you want the monitor actually to be triggered? So I'm gonna just use here confirmation one block. And here you can see all the criteria that you can define in order to trigger this monitor alert. So you can do transaction filters. You can filter based on values in particular transactions that are being sent to this Uniswap V2 smart contracts. It could be the value, the gas price, the status, the nonce, the sender, etc. Here we can filter based on events. So in case an event was emitted, we can actually trigger this monitoring alert. And this is perfect for us because anytime someone creates a new pair in Uniswap V2 Factory, the contract is going to emit the pair created event. And you can see it emits this event with the addresses of the tokens and the new pair. So I'm gonna mark this and use this event, and I don't need to drill down to exact pair because I don't care what are the tokens of this pair. Anytime a new pair is created, I want to trigger this alert and this monitor. So that's all we have to do just to mark this event as pair created. By the way, you can also use a monitor based on function triggers. So every time someone triggers a particular function like create pair or set fee to or set fee to setter, you can also filter this exact address. So when someone is setting the fee to an address that is unknown, you can trigger an alert and trigger monitoring. Now, I'm not going to use this based on function trigger monitoring because this is enough for us, the event trigger. But just so you know that you have different ways how you can basically trigger those alerts. Now, this is what you want to do based on this notification being triggered. So you can basically associate it with a category. It can either be low, medium, or high risk severity. In our case, it's going to be low severity because it's only a new pair is being created. And then you can basically tie those severities to some kind of actions or to some kind of notifications. As you can see, I basically connected all the low severity triggers to the notifications that I created here, Defender Johnny Time. You can change it over here in settings. And here in the settings, you can define what happens anytime there is a high severity notification, medium or low severity. As you can see, I defined it here, Defender Johnny Time. And this is the notification channel that I configured, Defender Johnny Time. You can also configure it here in the settings. And in Johnny Time, Defender notification channel, you can see that I defined only an email. So every time this alert is triggered, I'm going to receive an email to my inbox. But you can also configure Slack, Discord, Telegram, webhooks, whatever monitoring, whatever tracking system you use. If it's a startup, you probably use Stack, so you can have Slack alerts, or Telegram or Discord, whatever you prefer. We can also execute actions, but this is something that we'll see in a second. So based on this monitor event, we want to do something, or we want to trigger also an incident response scenario. For now, I don't want to trigger any of those. I just want to see that it works. And when we create a new pair, we get a notification. So I'm going to click here and do save monitor, and our monitor configuration is being saved in the background. Beautiful. Now we can see that we have a new monitoring set up for us. And if we go here to the Uniswap factory and we create a new pair, we're supposed to get a notification. Go here to write contract. I'm going to connect my wallet to Etherscan here. And we want to create a new pair using this function create pair. So I'm going to create a pair of wrapped ETH together with my new deployed Johnny Time token. So I'm going to search here wrapped ETH. So I'm just going to here copy the contract token address and add here as token A. This is going to be wrapped ETH. And now we need our token smart contract address. And this is the second token. This is the Johnny Time token. So I'm going to copy the address and paste it over here. Where was it? Here. And now that we have both token A wrapped ETH and Johnny Time as token B, we can here create a new pair, send a transaction through our MetaMask wallet. It will create a new pair smart contract with both token wrapped ETH and Johnny Time. And if everything works as expected, we're supposed to receive an email that a new pair was created in our Uniswap V2 Fork protocol. And as you can see over here, we received a new notification and a new email, Defender monitor, new pair created, triggered. So an event was emitted and Defender saw it as an alert and sent it to us. We can see also here the transaction. Perfect. We see how the monitoring feature is working based on the blockchain when the contracts are being changed, functions are being called, or events are being emitted. Beautiful. Now we want to take it to the next level. We want to connect the monitor with the action. So in case there is an incident, something happened with our protocol, we want to run automatically an action. This is where the actions comes into place. As you can see over here, we can create a new action and we can basically make this action based on monitor. So if we trigger something, if something happened in our protocol, or we can do it based on schedule or webhook. So we can also create actions that will be ran automatically in the background as a cron job. Let's say we want to add liquidity to our protocol every 24 hours. We can do it through Defender, or maybe we want to update the signatures or change something in the governance. This is also something that we can do using this action module. But at this demonstration, I'm going to show you how I'm going to connect the action with the monitor module. So based on a trigger, we're going to do something. A very common issue with Web3 protocols is that people send token mistakenly to smart contract. This is something that happens all the time. And in our case, people might send mistakenly tokens to the per smart contract without going through the swap function or through the add liquidity function. And in that case, in the per smart contract, we have some function called scheme. And this function is going to basically send out and rescue from the per smart contract all the extra tokens that were sent mistakenly. So if someone sent Johnny Time token to the contract mistakenly or wrapped ETH, then it will check if there is this extra ETH or extra Johnny Time token and we'll send them to some account that we choose. And this is the scheme function over here. So using Defender, we can create a flow where every time someone sends mistakenly a token to the per smart contract directly, then we'll trigger automatically the scheme function to rescue the funds, which is going to be super cool. So let's get started. So first, before we create the action, we will create the monitor that will detect anytime someone sends tokens directly to the per smart contract. This is the newly pair created of wrapped ETH and Johnny Time token. As we can see, it was deployed through the factory. So if you go to the create pair transaction and to logs, you can see the address of the new pair. And this is the address of the new pair. Obviously, the bytecode are not verified because we did not deploy it through Defender, but through create2 opcode through the factory. And here we're going to create a new monitor over here. So I'm going to create a new monitor and I will call it tokens mistakenly sent to pair. Okay, this will be our monitor. It will be financial monitor or maybe technical, I guess financial. And the contract this time is going to be not the factory, but the Johnny Time token smart contract. When someone is sending tokens, either use the transfer or transfer from function in ERC20. And we want to monitor anytime someone transfers this Johnny Time token. We can also do it with wrapped ETH over here. But just for the sake of the example, we're going to do it only with Johnny Time token. Here in the events, we're also going to use the events this time because anytime someone transfers tokens, the transfer event is being emitted. So I'm going to choose here transfer. And here we want to add a filter. We want only when someone sends these tokens to the per smart contract. So this is the per smart contract. I'm going to copy the address and I'm going to do here to equals the per smart contract address. So now anytime someone sends Johnny Time tokens to the per smart contracts, this monitor will be triggered. Here the alerts, I'm gonna define it as, I guess, medium, whatever, medium, yeah. And currently I'm not gonna define any actions yet. I'm just gonna create this monitor and save it. And now every time someone sends those tokens, we will trigger this incident. The monitor has been set over here and it's gonna raise an alert and send it to my email as well. But we want now to create an action. So I'm gonna click here, create action, and I'm gonna call it scheme tokens. And now every time someone sends those tokens mistakenly, we're gonna trigger the scheme function. We're gonna do it based on a monitor. And we're going to use the relay for Sepolia. So this transaction to call the scheme function will be sent from the relay of our Defender Sepolia relay. Now, this is the cool part. This is where we can run JavaScript code and send transactions, whatever actions we want to do. We have complete freedom over here to write whatever JavaScript code that we want to trigger and send. And here we prepared in advance the JavaScript code that we can basically paste that will trigger this scheme function. As you can see here, we have the ABI of the per smart contract. We get the credentials of the relayer that will send a transaction, and we get a signer of the relayer and the provider. And this is the per smart contract. I just need to update it to the current per smart contract that we just deployed, which is going to be this one. So this is the per smart contract instance, and this is the scheme function over here. As you can see, it receives an address, and this is the address that will receive all the Delta tokens that were sent to the per contract. And in our case, we're sending them to the relayer EOA account. So we can just copy here this JavaScript code and paste it here in this action, and we're gonna click here save action, and we'll create a new action to skim the tokens every time someone sends them mistakenly. So the action has been created, and now we want to link this action to the monitoring. So I'm gonna go back here to the monitoring, refresh the page so all the data will be updated, and I'm going to edit this token mistakenly sent to per monitor rule and link it to the new action that we make skim tokens. Scrolling down to the alerts, and here execute an action, and I'm gonna select here skim tokens, save the monitor, and now let's see if it actually works. So both monitoring and action is being set, and now we want to send some Johnny Time tokens to this per smart contract. So we import our Johnny Time token to the MetaMask wallet, and we are supposed to have 1 million Johnny Time tokens. As you can see, we have 1 million Johnny Time tokens, and now we want to copy the per address and send mistakenly some Johnny Time tokens to the per smart contract. So I'm going to click here send, paste it. We get a warning already. MetaMask is doing a good job to warn us that we are sending a tokens to a contract that we might lose our funds. And let's just send 18 Johnny Time tokens to the per smart contract and see what happens. So I'm going to confirm the transaction, and the transaction was submitted 10 seconds ago. As you can see, the tokens were transferred. Yes, beautiful. We got a new email over here from the Defender monitor. Tokens mistakenly sent to per triggered. We have a link here to the transactions, and we can see here the transfer tokens from my wallet to the per smart contract. And now we also want to make sure that the action was triggered based on this monitor. We don't just want to get an alert, but to trigger an action. So in order to check if the action was working, if it worked, we can click here, directly jump to the per smart contract, because we can see that the 18 tokens were sent from Johnny Time from my wallet to this address, which is the per smart contract. And then we click here, and we see that actually this per smart contract doesn't have any Johnny Time token. If it would have, there would be over here, there would be a drop down menu here with the tokens that it has. And also we can see this beautiful line in the table over here, which is the scheme function. 54 seconds ago, as you can see, the relayer triggered the scheme function. If we enter this function, we can see that this scheme function sent 18 Johnny Time tokens to the relayer account and rescued the tokens from the per smart contract automatically based on the monitor that was triggered. This is a game changer, beautiful functionality that I've never seen in any other tool, and this is just incredible. I'm so happy that I can try it and play with it. It doesn't end here, because now you can actually define incident response, which is based on monitor that was triggered. A group of actions will be executed, and once you have all these tools set, your protocol is much safer and much more secure, because you can monitor all those malicious activities and create those automatic actions and incident response scenarios to protect your users, protect their fund, and protect the protocol. Now, this was just simple examples of monitoring and actions and incident response, but I want you to bear in mind that there are much more complex things that you can do with these tools that actually defend against live attacks. And there are plenty of known Web3 companies that are actually actively using Defender, and we will have more videos where we'll deep dive into the monitor functionalities, the actions, the incident response, and we'll also see use cases of how you can actually define more advanced monitoring rules and defense mechanisms, and we'll see how different real Web3 protocols are using this tool to protect their smart contracts and their user funds. And again, I want to remind you that this tool is completely free to use for now, and as an early adopter, using my Johnny Time link in the description below, you can get access for free to this tool and also benefits once this tool will be paid. So don't wait. Check out the link in the description below and go sign up and try out this new Defender amazing tool by OpenZeppelin. Thank you so much for watching this video and learning with me. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments below or reach out to me directly through Twitter, Discord, email, whatever method you prefer. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel for more amazing content. Thanks again, and I will see you in the next one.